All right, so it's officially 7:05 and I'm going to start. And first of all, welcome to the workshop. We appreciate all of you guys for coming out. A quick introduction on what's Firebase. It's Google's platform that speeds up the development process. You can actually use it with iOS, Android, and web. And it includes a lot of features, but the ones we're covering here is hosting and real-time databases. But it also has authentication, analytics, and cloud functions, and a lot more that you guys can find out. So the structure of this workshop, what we're going to do is installing the prerequisites like I mentioned before. And then we're going to host our app. Then we're going to connect it to a database, and we'll have a live app from then on. And let's get coding. So I'm just going to share my screen.
Before we do that, you want to introduce yourself, Shannon?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a third-year computer science student at uOttawa. I'm currently a software engineering intern at the Faculty of Medicine at my school, and I work with Firebase. So I just thought it'd be cool to teach it to you people. Ali, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ali. I'm third year also, studying software engineering, qualifying to RCMP right now, and I'm looking forward to an exciting workshop with all you guys. Hopefully we can make a nice Firebase application, to-do list application. Yeah. Skylar, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Skyla. I'm the DSC lead for uOttawa. I am currently co-oping at BlackBerry, and just looking forward to doing this workshop with you guys.
All right. So step number 1 is to go to console.firebase.google.com. And I'm assuming you guys have a Google account right now. And what you're going to do is add a project. You can name it whatever you want. But for this workshop purpose, I'm just going to do workshop. Live and continue. We don't need Google Analytics, so I'm going to disable that. And you just wait for it to be done.
So do you want to explain a bit about hosting and what it means to host your Firebase application?
Yeah, when you host a Firebase application, you'll have a website that you can go on and your app will be live on there. It's a really easy process, which is why I like to use Firebase. I'm going to go to, you want to say something about it, Ali?
Sorry?
you want to say something about it?
Oh yeah. So hosting is like a lot of like it's essentially what checking side is like hosting your app, but it's also real-time databases that we'll be covering later on. That's where you store all of your data attributes into a location. We will be covering that later on. We will show the doc, but like right now it's loading on check-in screen. So first, we're just project first, and it will show you how to host it on the command line later.
So yeah, the first step we do, we press add app over here, and we're gonna add a web app. We can name it whatever we want. So I'm just gonna name it a to-do list live again. And then we are gonna do Firebase hosting, or we're not gonna set it up now. So just press register app. And you're gonna copy this entire thing here, go to the repository that you forked and paste it right above the JavaScript, because the JavaScript is where we use our Firebase services. So you need to paste all of this above that. And once that's done, you'd notice that one of the links says Firebase Analytics. We're actually not going to use analytics in this project. So we can change that to Firebase database. So yeah, we have our HTML file right here, and we have a JavaScript and a CSS. What we're going to do now is continue the console. And you guys are going to pull up your terminal. And CD into wherever you guys had your repo in. So mine's in GitHub /Firebase demo. And from there, what we're going to do is do npm. I'm just going to do sudo because I need administrator privileges on my laptop, but on yours, even why not? npm install /g Firebase tools, and you're going to press enter. You might not need to use sudo, so just type in this command right here, and it's going to install all the Firebase attributes for the project.
Yeah, so you might get an error saying like it's like there's administrative rights not being found on your machine or your Mac or Linux, whatever you're running. So you should place sudo in the beginning. So that basically means you have administrative rights to that command of when you're installing Firebase.
Yep, exactly. So from then on, what I'm going to do is, so you're going to have a command called Firebase in your terminal. So you're just going to do Firebase init. But before you do that, you do Firebase Login because init won't work. So yeah, Firebase Login is going to make you enter your email and password, but I've already done it. So you guys are going to have to do that. And I'll give a second for you guys to do that. Okay, so assuming everyone's logged in, the next thing you do is Firebase init. And it's going to give you this nice text and all these options right here. But for this project, all we're going to use is databases. So press space on that and space on hosting. And just press enter. And since we created the project right here, and the name is to-do list app, we're going to use an existing project. It's going to be the name up here, to-do list app. I'm going to press enter. Yeah, we're going to use database.rules. We want public as a directory too, so we just press enter to that. Yeah, our app right now is a single page app. I'll show you guys a preview of it. So this is our app right now. It's just a single page HTML app with no CSS and no JavaScript at the moment, but we're going to add it after we rewrite everything to index. And we can say no to this. And that's it. So once that's done, the last step is Firebase Deploy. So this is going to upload your app onto a website. And the nice thing about it is it gives you a free URL that you can use. I'm going to copy that, paste it, and boom, that's your app right there.
So I think you forgot to explain where to actually get the repo from, right?
Yeah, you just go to the GitHub link I had in my in the PowerPoint. Firebase demo, and you push from there. Sorry, someone has a question. What command do you enter after logging in Firebase? You do Firebase init after. Okay, so everything is done on my end. So I'm gonna push everything I have to Albie, and you can take it from here.
Okay, so we're gonna explain what real-time databases is first. Let me just get Chadden's changes into the app. Yeah. So I'm going to start sharing my screen right now.
Great, Ali. I'm gonna share my screen too for a bit. I have to do one more step.
Okay, share screen, yeah.
Okay. So just one more step that I forgot to cover. In the public folder, you're gonna have an index, but you're gonna delete that and then move all of these files, CSS, and JavaScript into this folder. So you notice this is showing up instead of our app. That is because our index file that used to be here was just the source of this. So what I'm gonna do now is go to my terminal and Firebase Deploy. So this should work. I hope.
Hello.
There we go. That's our app.
All right, pretty good. So I'm going to share my screen right now. So there's real-time databases that we're going to be doing now. So what is real-time databases? They're basically I just made some notes for you guys to understand the concept behind what we're doing. They basically like store and sync data in real time. To sign up and maintain a database can be a hassle, so it can help access data from any device, web, mobile, and help collaborate between the two. And whenever you update data in the real-time database, it stores it in the cloud and also updates it in all your devices. And when your real-time database is offline, the database SDK uses like a local cache on the device to serve and chain changes. Database security rules also to see who has access to what pieces of data, and then the data can be structured. So we're going to be doing, so I'm going to be pulling Chetan's branch that he just made right now, and we're going to be implementing the code itself for the databases. Can you see the git command, Chetan? Git command line?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you push your code?
Yeah, I pushed it.
Okay. So I'm just going to see the branch.
Yeah, check out to workshop/live.
Yeah, okay. Go workshop-live. Sure. So I'm just going to pull that into things. So I should be in your branch right now. We start Visual Studio Code. All right, so the first step is that you guys should have your, so see if I actually, so first step, yeah. So first step, you guys should have your Firebase config and your initials app, which can be found in the CDN. And this can be found in project settings, which is in your Firebase. So you go to your project on Firebase itself, project overview. And then you go to your to-do list app, settings. And there should be a CDN here that
Ali, it's to-do list live, not to-do list app.
To this live. Okay. You're switching to that project.
It's in the same project, different app.
To this.
So it's in to-do list app.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you get your CDN and you get your Firebase config, and you just take this piece of CDN. So this is where you're registering your Firebase onto your application, and you paste it in in your finished task.js. So I think that should be fine once you register. And after that, we have our input values. So this can also be found in one of the branches. It's called Firebase, capital F. I believe the Chetan showed you where to find a repository. So like this basically means like if your values are empty, and which means that your data values are empty and your input box is empty, you input database and your ref child unfinished task into that key, and we're storing 3 attributes. So there's title, date, and key. So if you go to so once you have your method, you have to add these 3 keys in. So title, date, and key. And so these are the stuff that's being stored into the real-time database in Firebase. And this is the array, and you have your database reference that calling the update method. After that, you have task add. So task add is should be this should just be like its own add method. So this is just if open up another. If I go back to our screen here and close the console, this is the task being added here. So start a task, you enter something like, say you want to ride your bike. So you do ride biking, enter your date. You can go back to your console by right click on it and inspect element. And if it should say task is done. Yeah, so if task is done, that means you implement it properly because your button is functioning properly. Yeah, so that's one of the console.logs. So that's why we have console.log. It basically checks to see if your method is functioning properly. Then we have input box and input date, which is basically just your input values for Firebase, which we will also explain later on. So and then we have your create and finish tasks. So this is like the bulk of your code for a real-time database. So it starts off with an array. You initialize an array. You have your key and data pairs. You push your data into the array. So basically, child data is your object that you're creating, and you're retrieving the value from child snapshot. And child snapshot is a subcategory of snapshot itself. That's what we're using to get the keys and values, and putting that into we're putting that into the real-time database, the array, I mean, itself. So yeah, so basically that's like one of the parts of the just give me a second here. Yeah, so that's basically just getting the object values and putting into the array and pushing the array. I think we should be good with that. And then we have a for loop. So this is just iterating the array, task array.length, and you're retrieving the first value, the second value, and the third value into the array. So task date is the first value, task key is the second, and task title is the third. And once we get those into the array, we can start doing our divs. So divs are basically like class containers, and these will be like dividing into like categories. So there's going to be like here, I'll show you this HTML screen. So there's going to be like a first div right here, a second div right here, a third div right here. So there's going to be like multiple divs in different containers. So those are basically divs, like separating it into multiple containers itself. Yeah, so, and then we have the p div, and later on you can add the task title, and we have the contentable attribute that we add to the database. And we also initialize inner HTML. So make sure at the beginning, like, you guys have guys should have like inner HTML in the beginning. Initials were here, line 41 and line 42. That's where the container parts come in, and then the inner HTML parts comes in. So yeah, I think that should be good to go for that. And once you have all that good, you have your buttons and everything, you guys can start appending task container into unfinished task container. You have your task date and title and date, and then task tool, task done button. So these are just buttons being appended. So these are just values from the buttons being appended to the array. So dot append basically means like you're adding stuff to these various arrays. And once you're good with that, you have your function task done, function task edit, and function task delete. So again, we don't have really of these buttons. This is more about explaining how Firebase works and the real-time database behind that. So we did add buttons to HTML, but there's no functionality behind that. So it just explains console.log, and it just explains like the output of it for those buttons. And yeah, that should be fine for that. So so like when you go back to your Firebase project itself, you can just open that real quick. Right here in your real-time database, you should see when you do something you need to do, you should see like date key title being added to your real-time database. And it should be like an unfinished task for the overall method. So if you want to know where you got the unfinished task from, that basically comes from line 40. So that's great. That's what basically what unfinished task, and that's how this mostly of this that's how like most of the real-time database is created. This block of code from line 40 to line 111 is where the real-time database parts comes in. Task add from line 30 to 38 is task done of the HTML, and line 119 to 121, line 124 to 126, and 128 to 131 are just buttons for adding, deleting, and editing. So I think once you have all that set up, and make sure you guys also have your SDK set up too. Your CDN from your Firebase project, which should come from your Firebase settings. So this is the part where you register your app. So this is really critical to have in your JS file. We didn't add any styling. That's up to you guys. We posted a repo. You guys can git fetch and then git checkout. Git fetch and then git pull, and then you'll have a CSS file there. You can also add styling to certain buttons and certain divs. So it'll be good idea for you guys to add that. HTML is just like pretty blank, as Chetan explained. So at the end of after all that, after you added all the unfinished function to the JS file, there should be date key and title added to your real-time database, and you should be good to go for that. Am I missing anything, Chetan, or do you want to add anything?
Yeah. Actually, no, I don't think I'll tell anything. I think I'm good.
Do you want to explain the part where how we have different branches, and you want to explain how to grab?
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions where the code is coming up empty in Firebase demo. So what you have to do is, I'll actually share my screen. So yeah, the reason why the code is empty is because we thought that you guys can follow along and then code along our master branch. So yeah, if you go to finishtask.js, it's going to be empty. But if you want the full version, you would go to workshop demo and public. So finishtask.js, this has all the code that Ali has just shown you guys.
So is there a chat here, or we don't have a chat here actually? Sorry, because like Teams actually blocked the chat. So we have a forum where you can place a repo there, and then you guys can git clone to your machine, and then you can look at that. Yeah.
All right. So I have another question, which is how to set up a live server to test the app. Okay, let me answer that one. So our thing right now has no Node.js. So there's not really a way, like our app is pretty simple. So there's not really a way you can test it locally. But if you do want to test it after it's been pushed here, what you can do is just Firebase Deploy. And then all of your changes should show up right here. So if I had a task called thing1,
I'm sorry to interrupt, Chatlin. I don't think you're actually sharing your screen.
oh,
Yeah, if you want to go over that again.
my mistake. Yeah, so here's what you would do. So we don't have any Node.js, if you notice right here. So there's no way you can really test it locally. But what we can do is just do Firebase Deploy. And all of your code will be deployed right here onto your URL. And you can test it this way. Does that answer your question? Oh, where did I get the URL? This URL right here.
Yeah, so once you deploy your app, there's like two different URLs. So there's like ways of testing it from the index.html, but there's also ways of testing it from the hosting URL. So once you Firebase login and then you Firebase init, the Firebase init is just initializing your app. If you scroll up, Chetan, you can probably show that to them. Or the command line.
Oh, I don't have that command line anymore.
But,
no, it's Firebase Deploy. That's the one you use.
Yeah. So
this link takes you to the. What were you saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this link takes you to the Firebase Console, where you can see your project in this view. And the second URL takes you to the live website. And this is actually free. You don't have to pay anything for any hosting charges. So if you have a portfolio and you want to say, I've done this project and you want to show something, you can just send them to this URL and they'll see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Is there any more questions?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I had a question. So I pulled down the branch, the workshop demo one with the finalized code, and I swapped the CDN with my own just to push it into my own database, but I'm getting an access denied error on the console or permission denied for the database. Is there like something you have to do to give yourself access on Firebase?
Yeah, let me actually show you that one. So all you have to do, can you go to this page right here, the console?
Yeah.
And go to real-time database.
Okay.
And go to rules.
Rules. Sec. Under real-time database.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So here, this basically means that no one can log in if their authentication status is null. So
right.
For testing purposes, what you want to do is read true. You never want to do this in development, but for testing purposes, you just type true in both fields.
Okay.
And let's press publish. And try doing it again and see if it works.
Okay. Let me see. So I would just refresh the page and see if it works. Yeah, it seems to work now. Thanks.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, there's a common issue.
Yeah, when you initialize your database, you can usually choose if you want to do development, test or production. And if you want to write your own database with no login, like in a simple app like this, you should always pick test. And that's where this issue is coming from. Are there any more questions? We're gonna chill here until 7:45, and if no one has questions, then I guess you're free to leave. But yeah, thank you guys for coming out. This is a great workshop. I hope you guys actually learned something and decide to use Firebase for your next project, because it is useful. I use it a lot. I use it for work too. So if you do end up getting a development job, you might end up using something similar. It's a good idea to learn it in that case.
Yeah, also just to add on, the app didn't really have any functionality. It was more of just hosting the data on Firebase itself. So it's not really, it was just for learning purposes. So if you guys got I don't know if you guys were here for the app, I'm sorry for that. But overall, I think it should be fine because you guys learned a lot of Firebase principles, real-time database. Maybe Azar, do you want to introduce yourself? Because I think we forgot to introduce your slide. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Hey everyone. My name is Azar Lee. I'm actually not from University of Ottawa. I am the DSC lead at Florida International University in Miami, Florida. It was so great to be a part of setting up this workshop with University of Ottawa, and yeah, really excited, and the workshop went super well, so super happy on everything. Yeah.
Yeah, there was also a three-way collab. Unfortunately, Texas guy couldn't show up to the workshop because he had some there's like issues with marketing on his end. But overall, I think it was pretty good. I think you guys I hope you guys learned a lot from this workshop. So the main concepts in summary was hosting, which can be installed from the command line, and then there was like real-time databases added to Firebase itself. And those were just keys, objects, and title. Title was your to do whatever your to do is. Keys are your objects, and am I missing something? Yeah, values are your other attribute, and those are all into the real-time database. And yeah, I hope you guys learned a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to stay or you can leave. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on Firebase, there's a lot of functions you can use. We're only covering hosting and databases because they're the simplest ones, and everything else like authentication, ML kit, that would take an hour's worth of work to do. So we didn't want to make this workshop be longer than 45 minutes to an hour. That's why we're only covering these two. So I have a question which says Firebase free, or is there a point where you have to pay? It is free for most cases, but if your project ends up getting a lot of users, then you have to pay. I'm actually going to find out what the metric is for that.
Yeah, if it was a full-blown app, I think you'll definitely have to pay for that. Yeah.
I know it is a little bit cheaper than Amazon Web Services, which is why some people use it. Yeah, for hosting, if you're using a gigabyte of storage data, you pay $0. You pay 3 cents for a gigabyte of storage data. And our app that we made today used 500 kilobytes. So unless you're making a really, really big app, it's free. Yep, no problem. Okay, so there's no more questions. So
I guess we can
I
end
think
the
we'll be shutting down the workshop now. Thank you guys all for coming. I hope you guys learned something from this. All right, thanks for coming out. I'll look forward to seeing you again in the future. All right, bye-bye.